Now this. President Trump is off to attend the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Greenland on top of the Trump agenda. Michael Pillsbury joins me now. All right, Michael, do you really think that Russia and China would try to take over Greenland if Trump doesn't step in?
I think it's a possibility, Stuart, and that's the basis of deterrence. NATO, was never invaded after 1950 when Eisenhower was the commander and formed the troops there. So, but that doesn't mean that NATO was a bad idea just because there was no invasion. You're trying to deter aggression by others. So do I think out of the blue, China or Russia is suddenly going to take Greenland? No. Do I think Denmark's doing a good job with its defense spending? No. This business about the two bobsled teams, that really is true. It's from the reporting of Ambassador Carla Sands when she was in Denmark. She tried to get a $200 million commitment from the Danes to defend Greenland, and they never would do it. And they did talk about the two bobsled teams. So we're trying to deter a Chinese or Russian more aggressive approach to Greenland. Why? To get the minerals. And so it's pretty simple.
Why do you think China thinks of Greenland, apart from the minerals, as strategically important? Is it because the ice cap is melting and there's new trade routes being opened up and China would like to dominate?
That's part of it, Stuart, but it's not the main thing. The main thing is missile defense, and the Chinese telling everybody for 50 years they're going to have a very limited, at most 200 warheads, nuclear force. No one should be worried. No one should have missile defense. Now, the Pentagon estimates as many as 1,500 Chinese nuclear warheads, mostly on ICBMs that can reach America over Greenland. Greenland happens to, if you put up a map showing the airspace over Greenland and the missile arcs, the trajectories that missiles would come either from Russia or from China, it goes right over Greenland. So Space Force that President Trump created, they've got to have a much better early warning system based where? Building on the base we've had for decades in Greenland. So it's strategically important. And when I talk to Russian diplomats or Chinese diplomats, they're much more laid back about all this. They say, well, you guys bought the Virgin Islands for, I think it was gold, $2 million in gold. You bought Alaska for $7 million. So the Russians and Chinese are kind of laid back that they expect the Americans to do something for the defense of Greenland. It's the defense of the United States against missile attack.
I'm sure you saw this item of news, Michael, but China's birth rate fell dramatically in 2025. It actually reached the lowest level on record. A new Washington Post op-ed says the damage done by efforts to control the population, the one-child policy, could be irreversible. Michael, will the Communist Party face any backlash over this?
Of course. It's a population disaster for China. They're victims of their own success. They made a conscious decision. They publicized it at the time that if we don't have birth control, we're going to go to 4 or 5 billion with a B Chinese population. We can't sustain that. So let's try to keep our population down to 1 billion or so by having these extreme measures, including forced abortion of women in the case of a second child. They now realize that was wrong. They headed off the 4 billion population problem, but now they're stuck with the end of Chinese people, if you want to be in the extreme, that the birth rate remains low. So just like the Heritage Foundation, we have a new report on how to stimulate families and children and have tax breaks. The Chinese are actually thinking about that now themselves, but they also, Stuart, they also say the key issue is productivity. We've got to get our productivity up. They're still largely a rural country. So for them to get computerized, get the internet, get everything going digital, this is now the hope. China's hope to surpass America is in this area, because in the population area, they're hurting badly, as the Washington Post is reporting.
That is fascinating. Michael Pillsbury, don't be a stranger. Come back soon, please.